Shall we begin? One of the things I love about live streaming on YouTube as opposed to Twitch streams is that there's never a delay, that long, big, string of delay until it's live. You just pop in and hit go and you're live streaming straight away. Just waiting for some people to arrive, because this will be a live stream where I am actually campaign planning and encounter planning. Hey Corey, Youth, Anxious Bug, Comic Nut, Kajak. All right, let's get going. So I'm just going to pop the we're going to be flipping between the two different views here, and I'm going to get a lot of feedback from you guys because we're going to be planning this campaign together. Now, this is not a campaign that I'm going to be running straight away. I've got another campaign set in Thay that I'm going to be running for Dungeon Dad and Doxy and possibly some others. And that's a riotous romp through Thay. I'm basically distilling all of the best bits of Thay and throwing it at them basically dialing it up to 11, and they're going to be having some high-level characters. So I'm not going to be pulling any punches on that one. But for this, it's a blank slate. Here we go. So scene 2, blank slate. We're going to fill this up with campaigns and all sorts of stuff. And I'm going to show you how I just start from scratch and plan out a campaign. You've been struggling with DM burnout and my issues with planning my own games. Yep, Yeah, so me too, Jacob. I really like these sort of things. I like the contributive sort of aspect of it. And also it gives you some good insight into my own mind and how I run games. Death Knights at them. Oh, they'll be far worse than Death Knights. With the dudes and Cody soon. Maybe. Putting the Grand Wizards of Thay, yep, indeed. I can't talk much about what goes on in Thaymount. Distilled Thay will be a very strong spirit, indeed. Okay, I'm just going to move my microphone over here so I can turn around and face the paper while we talk, while we discuss. So this is the first thing that I ask. And this is difficult because normally there's a vital element that's missing from this campaign planning. Can you see what the vital element is that's missing? Right? Anybody got a guess what the first thing I ask is? The very first step in campaign planning, the most important step in campaign planning. What's missing here? Coffee. No, it's not coffee. Everything's missing here. My kitty's right outside. I'm not a lefty, I'm a righty. Thank you very much. No notes or name? No characters. Exactly. So the most important thing is I ask my players. Ask my players what they want to play. That is my primary goal. Missing a spilled coffee, yeah. Here we go. Put a spilled coffee. Okay, let's get going. So let's assume that I've asked my players what they want to play. And in this case, you are my players. So I'm asking you what you want to play. What do we want to play? Do we want to play In the Forgotten Realms, or do we want a whole new world? Caves of Chaos. Yeah, get that session. This is our session 0. The real session 0. This is the session -1. Sesh 0. Mazdaca, New World, Forgotten Realms, Homebrew? A homebrew world. We've got 2 answers for homebrew world. Faerun forever. Something unusual. Space, underwater, etc. Dragonlance. Nothing like the Kobold Cave encounter to kick down the old thing. Yep, Mastica. Around the Sea of Fallen Stars. We've got 3 answers for homebrew. I think homebrew is a good one. Because we're not leaving anyone behind that way. We're all on an even page. If we go homebrew, nobody knows what the homebrew is, right? So, okay, let's say we're going homebrew. Now, do we want a low magic campaign or a high magic campaign? High fantasy campaign? Do we want sci-fi elements to this? Do we want a bit of steampunk? Do we want it to be low level and going to high level campaign? Or do we sort of start mid-level and then go from there? Homebrew it? Okay, DB. What was Critical Role camping campaign? Oh. Low magic, no sci-fi. High magic, bit of steampunk. Roll for it. That is a good idea, Kick-Ass Duke. Okay, let's grab a dice. 1, 2. It's a low magic, low technology, bones of their ass campaign. 3, 4. It's your standard vanilla D&D. 5, 6. High magic and lots of weirdness. So we're dialing up the weirdness on this dice here. Are we ready? 4. It's a standard vanilla level of sci-fi and magic and stuff. Okay, what sort of world do we want here? Do we want a unusual world or do we want a standard sort of Earth-like world? Now, the challenge of having a weird world is your exposition to your players. The players have to sort of buy into this. The weirder the world is, like let's say I've got a world that's a giant donut, right? Perhaps it's got a moon right in the middle of it. That's possible. Shall we start with that? That's the dual. No, it's a planet. It's got a moon right in the middle of it, and it's got a couple of moons on either side, let's say. Bit of Dragonlance there. So we've got a neutral moon in the middle. Got a moon of evil. And a moon of good. So what sort of other effects do these moons have on the planet? Are they associated with different gods, different types of magic? Who lives on the moon? Dwarf-centric. It's a dwarven world. So dwarves are the dominant race of this world. Where's the sun? Good point. One sun, 2 suns, 3 suns. Can we get a moon? A moon. A moon of a moon. Oh, I love that idea. The moons have moons. Thanks, Everett. Is the moon hunted? Haunted. The evil moon causes blood and rain and pus storms. Wow. So it's got a very visceral effect on the world below. A tiny sun that orbits the system. Okay. What if each moon is married to a sun? A religious folklore, maybe. What if these moons of the moons are little mini stars of their own that orbit the moons? Going to have some very interesting day-night cycles on this planet. Does the world spin? Does it need to spin? If you've got this much going on, does it need to move at all? Perhaps the gravity of the planet is taken care of by the neutral moon here. The dark moon. It's like an exposed core of the planet. Is the world flat? No, it's a donut. A slow rotation. Very slow. A 10,000 year cycle of rotation. The neutral moon is hollow. Well, that sort of fits with dwarves coming from it, right? It's actually a black hole. Well, we won't want it too difficult. Like, we want the world itself to have Earth-like conditions. Otherwise, it would make no sense to have any humanoid species or anything like that there because, you know, they just wouldn't work. We've just started, Daniel. We're just doing the primary cosmology of our world building here for our homebrew world. So we're going to call this, what are we going to call this world? Black holes are invisible, though. Well, yeah. No, not a black hole, because we're talking time distortion and things like that. A dwarven Dyson sphere in the center. Ooh. So the neutral hollow moon in the center is some sort of engine. Tim's world. Dominio. Ooh, I like Dominio. How old is the place? Very old. Crumb. Shall we roll dice for the name of the world? I think I actually have somewhere in my collection. Let's see here. No. Yes. No. Somewhere I've got some dice with letters on them. Oops. I'll pick up that dice later with the ball of my foot. We're just going to call it Donut. Donut. Dor'Nut. Dor'Nut. All right. So, we have the world of Dor'Nut. We're just getting started, Moonring. Okay, so on this planet, this donut, which we're going to represent by a large strip of land here. Let's say this is the inner edge of the donut. And this is where these meet the inner edge here. So the map's sort of folded out. We've peeled it. Here's our inner edge here. So all of this area here in the middle is going to be in shadow kinda, because the light of these moons here is going to be more intense on the outside edge of the map. So the Arctic area of coldness is a strip that goes right down the middle. That's our Arctic circle. It's literally a circle, a ring around the central planet. Does this represent itself as a great gigantic ice wall? Like a spire of ice. So if you look at a view of the continents and everything, then you'll have a spire of ice right in the middle of the planet. It goes all the way, occasionally, almost touching the moon in the center. And of course, these moons orbiting around the outside, maybe the people in the very center can't even see the moons. And then on the outside here, it's these temperate zones get quite hot on the outside. And that's where our main land masses are. So we've got a very interesting world. Very interesting world right from the get-go. Climate change issues, yeah, certainly. So the climate's in flux. Occasionally this will melt and the seas will rise. When the ice spires are very high, the seas will drop. And you'll have land bridges and things like that. Maybe warfare. Maybe a war between creatures that live in the ocean and creatures that live on the land. But it's largely out of their control. Part of the 10,000 year cycle of rotation, maybe. A place for sunbaking, yeah. A nice strip of frequent storms, yeah, true. So this could be these strips of ocean could have these cyclones which travel across. Slamming against this ice wall in the center. And so really, the best land is a nice sweet spot about midway here. So above that, it's hot, real hot. Outside edge, get pelted with the meteors and stuff like that occasionally. And maybe the meteors and stuff which pelt the outside carry the metal resources, minerals, magical artifacts, gemstones, bits and pieces of machines from ancient wars. And so it's a constant, the people who live kind of like on the inside edge of the donut here on either side are constantly traveling to get to this outer edge here of artifacts and good stuff. Adamantine meteorites, right, sky metal. Yeah, the outside edge would be a huge wasteland, full of horrors. Well, the gods could still be fighting and warring on the outside edge there, much reduced from their former glory. But this is a dwarf world. Are they dwarven gods? Is it dwarves and orcs? Well, this is a relatively small sea when you think about it. It's only about 50% of the land area here. Total land area would be sea, ocean. Kobold god. Acheron. Do we even want to go with existing gods like that sort of thing, or do we want to make new races, new stuff? Well, dwarves would be the dominant race, like humans were the dominant race of Faerun. Do we really want to go dwarves and orcs, or do we want something more interesting? New stuff. That's true. The surface being storms and meteors does benefit a subterranean world. Machine gods. Yeah. Perhaps it's something like there's a war going on between clockwork horrors. That depends on if I want to homebrew a new race that my players want to play. True. Space monsters like Neogi and stuff. Yep. Dwarves and dragons. Dwarves and Warforged. When you think about it, dwarves are a natural race to fight against machines. Really. Taking the artifice of those machines and using it against them. Maybe some dwarves are trying to excavate materials from other planes of existence. Yeah, well, if they're very resource poor and they're sort of locked inside this planet here, then maybe they are trying to open portals to other worlds. Dwarves and drow. Dragons pretending to be other races. We could have an ooze race. Zorns, yep. Dwergar. They delved too deep, yep. Too deep into the donut. Maybe kobolds, Thri-Kreen, and dwarves make the biggest factions. Well, the Thri-Kreen would probably thrive in this dry, arid area that's pelted by meteors and things. So I can imagine, I could imagine that these arid zones, so the outer rim, is oozes, Thri-Kreen, and machines, possibly Warforged. And the central spire is dragons. And what else? Sort of ice monsters and stuff can you think of? Oh, thanks, Matt Delight. Thanks for the stream, mate. Keep up the good work and have a drink on me. Thank you. Drink some coffee. Cheers. Nobody's done Skynet versus dwarves, true. Auto gnomes? Frost salamanders. Ooh. I like it. An escape from New York theme. Remores, yeah, ice giants. Arctic, snow owl. Oops. Kokra. I like it. It's not really the surprise screen, but I hid it in the community tab where I was talking about other stuff. Kind of a test, really. A world mechanic where people randomly disappear from random amounts of time, then reappear as if nothing had changed for them. This is a good idea for parties that struggle to make it to sessions. Yeah, my friend Ian in particular does stuff like that for players that are missing from the game for a session or two. We've had instances where they've rolled up into map cases and other things as well, or turned into dreams. Wolf dragons that howl at the moons. So what's on these moons? Obviously, we've got very bad things in the evil moon. So I'm thinking demons and undead. Perhaps that's where the Warforged originally came from. Fighting the good fight. They were constructed for a nightmare existence. Fighting demons. Lycanthropes? Yep. Sure. Ghosts? Yep. What have we got on the good moon? Ancient machines that produce artifacts for the Clockwork Wars. I like it. How about we try something different? We say that all of the dragons are somehow attracted to the Ice Spire and the neutral moon here. Dragons and the neutral moon have got something in common. Oh, so the machines are sent from the good moon to the bad moon. So the Warforged are all about those moons. Moth dragons. It would make sense, wouldn't it? Modrons? It's bad moon rising. True. They want to steal the hollow moon. All right. Let's pop back to chat mode. Crazy sandworms like June or giant tortoises in the arid regions, and good moon was a conduit for the good gods. Okay, so let's leave the moons as they are. So this is largely stuff that's concerning the outer rim of the world and this disaster zone, the war zone, and this good strip of land is kind of like off the beaten track sort of thing. I imagine the storms and things that frequently move around this planet in this 10,000 year rotational cycle are an excellent source of power. And would also necessitate trade traveling sort of pretty much that direction. So you circumnavigate the inner world. Yeah, metal being precious on the outside. Well, metal being more common the further you get towards the dangerous arid regions with the Thri-Kreen and the damaged Warforged that have crash landed and are desperate to get out. And of course, the Thri-Kreen predate on everything, but they can't eat the oozes. We've got intelligent oozes out there that have been keeping the Thri-Kreen in check, so they sort of fight against each other. Powered using the ever-blowing winds. But I'm quite okay with the idea of Thri-Kreen being one of the dominant races of this world, really. Because it gives you lots of opportunities to have very different Thri-Kreen. Well, the oozes are just after, they just want to exist, you know. Of course, oozes don't generally move around out in the sunlight, so or they're not particularly fond of arid regions either. So perhaps the Thri-Kreen are sort of stuck with building hives on the surface because when they go down below, they're attacked by oozes. Because there's a lot of subterranean stuff going on in this world. So we're really just describing the surface world. Storm cities moving with lightning, powered engines. Ooh, I like it. Grey renders, yeah. Well, does this world have a Shadowfell and a Feywild? Ooze Genasi, I like it. Yeah, smart oozes are cool. I mean, look at Odo from DS9. What kind of prey items are there? Well, let's see. We've got 3 different orders of life here. We've got humanoids, mammals, we've got insectoids, and we've got machines. Machines are going to prey on machines and minerals. What if everything on the world has 6 limbs? Yep. Powerful storm sorcerers. What kind of planet would be best for Ixid's Chittles? Well, actually an entire world made of water would be pretty cool. But we've got a decent ocean here. High chances of mutation, yeah. Moving forests that keep up with the sun. I like that idea. Mobile plants are the dominant type of plant. So we could have plant-based races, treants, dryads, that sort of thing. Blights. Also, you think the Thri-Kreen are native, and the dwarves are colonizing. Fungal planet. Yeah, Odo was definitely like an intelligent doppelganger type creature. Well, one thing you can do with frequent meteor strikes and things like that is the cities could be largely modular. So buildings and things would have to be self-contained. You wouldn't have a centralized facilities for sewage and power and transport and stuff like that. So perhaps the cities are composed of mobile. The buildings are vehicles, constantly on the move. Because really, if you wanted a stable life on this planet here, you'd live below the surface, in which case it's mainly the dwarves and things. And then on the surface, the dwarves go up there for resources, so they want to be on the move, but they want to be well protected. So they kind of like the idea of being encased in something. Down below, it's encased in the earth. Up above, it's encased in a moving machine fortress. Kind of like the lovely, what is it? Was it The Lovely Bones, or that Peter Jackson movie where they're in great big cities? Right. Dead organic material. As left by moving forests that scatter that leave behind a trail of their dead. Rust monsters, yep. Burrowing trains. Ooh, that's a good idea. So, like, they're kind of like moving with sandworms, artificial sandworms. Mortal engines, thank you. Sentient roving cacti, yep, we've got those. The other thing that I want to use in my campaign, and one of my primary things is like to keep it simple, right? So the less stuff that I have to invent from scratch for the setting, the better. But You know, you can just reskin things. Like, they don't have to be dwarves, they could be something else. The dwarves are the opposite of claustrophobic. No, they're still claustrophobic. Well, yeah, exactly. Agrophobic, that would be. Dwarven Mad Max tanks. Yeah, that sounds cool. Hey, Steve. So we're world planning. We're planning a campaign here. I've got a map here of a world named Dor'Nut. Dor'Nut. And it's got 3 moons. An evil moon, a good moon, and a neutral hollow moon that's like a big machine engine in the middle there, some sort of a Dyson sphere. Perhaps that machine there was actually propelling the entire star system through space, like a gigantic, like, when you think about it, dwarves would make a spaceship that is essentially a planet, a moving planetary system. Because in Spelljammer, their fortresses and things like that are literally flying fortresses with workshops in the center, which provide the propulsion for their crafting. Provides the propulsion for their Spelljammer ships. It's quite cool. Thanks, Kick-Ass Duke. Hey, thanks, Steve. Have you ever had an adventure guild that the PCs could go and join and get jobs and such, like a bulletin board, and implementing one in Waterdeep in my campaign? Wondering if you knew of any references. Yeah, for sure. You can actually pick up things like from Drive-Thru RPG or Chartopia and things like that. You can come up with. Basically, what I do is I come up with a set of different adventures that they can go on and put those as the notices on the notice board, so the players have a sense of choice that they can go and pick and choose adventures that they can go on. And then each of them has like a set amount of pay and stuff like that. But there's rules and things. As being part of the guild, the adventuring guild, you have to give over a certain percentage of your earnings and things like that. It's really similar to your world. Great minds think alike. Domesticated burrowing beetles. Now we're talking music and stuff. I like it. Yeah, the dragons are in the center, in the spire of great ice mountains, in the center of the map here. So on the inside edge of the Dor'Nut here, there's great like spokes, like central spokes made of giant ice mountains. The Dyson sphere stopped working. That's right. A spacecraft incident? Yeah. So I'm thinking the ship was traveling through space and it ran into opposition. A hive fleet of machines. So they could be seeking something. So the dwarves, they've run into these machines and they need a vital resource to fight these machines that they didn't have when they set out on their journey. Yeah, Thanos shut down the Dwarven Starforge. Oh, the dragons protect the cities. I like it. I think actually that the dragons are all good. All of the dragons are good. There's no bad dragons, unless it's a rogue dragon. It's a crazy dragon. But all the dragons are generally good on this world, but quite aloof, and they need to stay around that central spoke. The enemy are the machines. So Warforged in this case would be like the orcs. How's that sound? So our world history is our planet was moving through space from A to B for some reason. And we're not, this is completely homebrew, so we're not stuck with crystal spheres or anything like that. We're out in actual space. And these dwarven engineers on board don't really understand the nature of the machine anymore. They built a machine god in the center here, an AI. that they now believe constructed them. Because they look up through telescopes and things, and they see dwarves in the surface of this machine sphere. An ancient machine army nearly conquered the planet before the dragon moon arrived and saved the day. Ooh. Yeah. Perhaps these moons are actually spaceships that arrived and are now locked in orbit. Oh no, there's light. There's a sun around this, and there's a sun around that, and there's a sun around this. The sun's propulsion systems. Tears in space. Diamond mantle. Protecting the inside machine. I like that idea. The dragons may have a symbiotic relationship with the ship. Its metal hull is their hoard, and the machine uses the diamond like a mantle. The machine uses the draconic energy to power itself. Could a god exist outside a crystal sphere if it were directly surrounded by its followers, like a living exoplanet? I don't know, Bilbo. Why would a god want to exist outside of a sphere if it could just teleport from one place to another? Do all the races live there? No, I don't think so. It doesn't have to be humans here at all. Or the other races are represented as stabilized mutations that were originally dwarves. So you got elves and humans and halflings and things, but they were all dwarves once. The dwarves need the elemental hearts of the dragons to jumpstart the planet ship's engines. Dwarven biomancers, so the dwarves use living things as engines and machines. Taking advantage of the mutation. Where does the mutation come from? Evil Moon, probably. The spaceship could be fleeing from Illithids. Ooh. Maybe the Illithids are just starting to catch up and arrive, and that's the crux of the campaign. We must get the engine started, otherwise the Illithid world is going to catch up with us and consume us. So the campaign is literally saving the planet. Are we doing this as a modern tech setting? No. No, it's standard D&D. The dwarves are mutated from space travel. Yeah, malnutrition and things. They were engineered to live inside the planet, to protect them from cosmic rays, obviously, as they move through space. Maybe the ship engine creates a harmful byproduct, kind of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the green and the ooze coming from the transmat device. Mortal Engines is the name of the... Yeah, thanks, Brian. The dwarves hold metal as sacred and will only forge it if the metal is willing. Otherwise, they use living or dead material like wood and bone. That's a great idea. Space scurvy. The Dead Engine campaign. Yeah. Well, do we need gods? Do we need gods at all in this campaign? Really, what you're talking about is gigantic machines, and the machines' AIs are the gods. So the gods send down representatives of themselves because the creatures that populate the planet no longer have the capacity to understand what the machines really are. So the gods. So to them, the machines are gods, and the avatars, the AIs, that the projections that the gods send down, these holographic beings that represent like their aspects, appear to clerics and stuff. That would make clerics interesting, wouldn't it? Well, there you go, more coffee. Ratch Durastrix. Mm. Silicon gods. I like it. Yeah. Pain. Gods are AIs. The machines could be some sort of automated repair and immune system for the ship, now malfunctioning and becoming sentient. And the Thri-Kreen were basically like the cockroaches on board the ship rats. So if anything biological lands on the outside of the planet as it's moving through space, the Thri-Kreen are there to basically harvest it and use it, chew it up. They protect the leading edge of the ship, and they can handle the mutation. They live in the Silicon Valley. Arr, arr. I like space too, Emilio. The machines are patrolling the world, trying to fix things, trying to make sure that the vital resources go where they're supposed to go. Every now and then, the machines will find a particularly good cleric and say, "Look, you are tasked with fixing this one particular aspect of the machine to get it running, and time is short." But what if there's religious wars between different aspects of the church, different AIs? They don't understand enough. Their ignorance is what causes conflicts. The machines are just trying to work together to get their thing going so that they can save the entire population from mind flayers, which are going to catch up and eat this planet. Right. Yeah, the AI would be immune to illithid mind control. Perhaps some of these clerics have chips implanted in their head so that the AI can take them over if they ever get infected by an illithid brainworm. Wars of the cogs and bolts. Yep, you can have the Church of the Cog, the Church of the Spanner, Church of the Screw. I imagine the machines are fairly insectile looking, yeah? Or just the machines are, the Warforged are just spheres. They don't even have limbs. They just have retractable limbs, and they move around like BB-8. Could we shoehorn some Neogi into this? Yeah, sure. Neogi could basically have landed on the surface. Their ship got destroyed by swarms of Thri-Kreen, and they basically just make do by making little burrows and pods for themselves underground. So the Neogi are the ship's rats. AI gods and brain chips. Watch the 100. Yeah. Orbs. Yeah, they're searching for orbs, Caleb. Exactly. The angels of the gods are the scary ones from the Bible, with the cogs and the wheels and the burning eyes and all that sort of stuff. They don't need to make physical sense. They're holograms. And when people die, if they have chips in them, their personalities get uploaded into a paradise, a digital paradise, where they're educated and the gods they're trying to fix the method by which they reintegrate souls back into living bodies. Who knows? Yep, devolved mind flayers. So you got brain stealer dragons, the occasional, It's a great idea. Anti-psionic Thri-Kreen. Tech cult of mind flayers that are always fun. Maybe that gets started when the tech chips malfunction, when an illithid tries to take them over. Yeah. Yeah, upload your brain to the AI and the mind flayers won't want it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Dragon Turtle, that one of those souls is reincarnated back from the paradise, the machine paradise, and back into a drone and sent out into the important tasks down below. Or perhaps that's what they use to power the Warforged, to be the sentiences of the Warforged. It's people who have previously lived before and been uploaded into the machine AI. But they can only be reincarnated as machines. They can never go back to being biological. Exazachital Roomba Super Chat. No, I did not. Sorry, Moonring. I'll go back and check that. What if the Exazachital gods are a janitor AI and Exazachitals are evil Roombas? I like it. Yeah. Well, I mean, the liquids and stuff, the ocean of water could be part of the cooling system for the central AI. I do like that idea of dwarves using symbiotic armor and weapons instead of metal. The oozes were bioweapons like ooblexes by the mind flayers and are now just living on the ship. Oh. So the mind flayers fired these oozes at the planet in the hope of infiltrating their defenses and killing off any of the surface races of Thri-Kreen and stuff, and sabotaging machines and such, and making their way inside the planet and killing the dwarves. That's great. I know, Emilio. This is oddly very Muradin versus Phyrexia suddenly. Yeah. Oozy barnacles, ooze pods, spikes of otherworldly material that the oozes have oozed out of. Souls cannot leave the planet and get sucked into the dead Dyson sphere. Right. Well, we don't even have to worry about that sort of thing. It's a purely physical campaign. There's not much spiritual involved apart from basically there could be nanomachines in the environment that clerical powers and stuff use, and arcane powers could be using Arcana, essentially. Lost technologies. Assassin oozes, yeah. Ooze drop pods, exactly. Can oozes solidify? Yeah, I think to a certain extent. I mean, we can have doppelgangers and things, because the oozes would be prone to mutation as well. Thanks, Tony. I will. Okay, so now we've got our world. It's taken us an hour, and we've got a pretty good idea of what's going on in this world now. It's being chased by mind flayers. It's populated by dwarves. All of the other races were originally dwarves, who are now stabilized mutations. There's also Thri-Kreen and Warforged. The Warforged are an unknown quantity. They could be good, they could be bad. Just pop the camera view back to me. So the Warforged could be good, could be bad. They could be working for the machine. They could be twisted somehow from the bad moon. Mechanus created this world and lost it. Can you play an ooze? I think so. Yep. I think you should be able to play a Thri-Kreen or an ooze, like an ooze person, a Guanadaran or something, and dwarves and elves and humans and halflings and gnomes and stuff like that. Yeah, sure. Well, the all of the stuff that you can't really see, but as part of the D&D rules, would be nanomachines essentially in the environment. And the nanomachines are struggling because they're lacking a central AI. So they're just sort of you're activating the nanomachines, and then they're like, ugh, and they're spent. So they can heal one person, and then you need to move on to another place or give them time to recharge. So effectively, it's like you have spell slots. The mending cantrip, right? So even the Warforges follow a rule of uniformization. Yeah. Bad moon rising. I see trouble on the way. Don't go out tonight. It's bound to take your life. Ooze character, mentally, find living matter, consume living matter, find living matter, yeah. Plasmoid form from Spelljammer, by the way. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have done the Shoth and various other ooze-like creatures and things in videos before. So I've certainly paid homage to ooze creatures quite a lot. Unknown disease going around the new inhabitants. Like what, youth? What sort of manifestation would this disease be? We don't really want it too on the nose for current events in the world, so perhaps it's not a pandemic, but maybe it's something else, something transformative. Perhaps the machines that are struggling with the fact that they can't reincarnate souls into living bodies are in fact trying to convert some living bodies into cyborgs. Yeah. How did the dragons come into it? Do we even need giants? Perhaps the giants are some of the original inhabitants of the machine who are now devolved into dwarves. So the giants only show up when their hibernation pods have been cracked open or something. Perhaps the ship was transporting a big bunch of giants. And the dwarves were basically just servants. So that would explain why the dwarves have this advanced medical knowledge of how to blend and change and mutate creatures for specific reasons. Because they're the medical crew. Well, it would make sense that the Ixodzar-Chitl, the vampire Ixodzar-Chitl, are there to protect the water source, the coolant system, and keep it cleansed of invasive species. Cyborg undead. I like it. The plague is ooze, like rabies. Some types of oozes that can infect you, and you don't heal it until you become a sentient ooze. Yeah. So I like it. We've got a generally good working system here for a logically consistent world. And now we've got to ask, aside from the big, giant, huge adventure of saving the planet, getting it operating again, and fighting off, the potential apocalypse of the Mind Flayers arriving, the Mind Flayer planet arriving and essentially taking over and, doom raining from the sky, what would be the day-to-day for these dwarven people? Like, you're just Joe Dwarf living under the surface of this planet, and you what sort of adventures can they face here? Has it been around for a very long time? Have there been lost empires and things like that of other species and things? Where's the adventure? Where's the day to day? Where's the quest giver in the tavern, and the bug hunt in the cellar and things like that? Well, the Mind Flayers built their planet. Harvesting wood, not getting abducted by Thri-Kreen raids. Yeah. Fixing subsystems could be a good basis for quests. Yeah. So making little clockwork machines. Little complicated clockwork machines. Or engineering specific pets and things like that. So weird creatures would be far more common. And the monsters in the wilderness and the landscape would either be mutations. It could be biologically engineered servant races and things that have been mutated due to, storms or electrical activity, magnetism, exposure to moon rays. Perhaps the AIs try to pass on this information on how to change the environment, but it's jealously guarded. So every time a cyborg shows up, this secretive order of wizards shows up and captures them and steals their secrets. So they're profane, really. I mean, their activities are keeping secrets for something which is trying to heal the planet, and they know full well that the mind flayers are on the way, and yet they jealously guard their personal power, which gives them control, godlike control over the environment. So the arcane arts, wizards and things, are actually bad guys, and the clerics and things are the good guys. They're trying to fix the planet and get it moving, but they need some sacrifice. They have to give up their precious metals and things like that. Where I come from, cowboys are just called farmers. Yeah. Moon rays. Yeah. What are the food sources? Yeah, mostly Underdark stuff. Biomush. Yeah, because we're talking about the forests being fungus, right? Myconids and things. So the trees are actually like sentient. You can herd forests. Forest cowboys. So, lasso a mushroom. People riding around on myconid mounts. That would make sense, really, if most of the animal life was kind of partly mushroom. Tree steaks. Screaming mushrooms, yep. Herds of screamers. Fungus forests, I like it. And of course, the Thri-Kreen and stuff would make sense if there's fungus forests, right? Insects would be the primary life form that lives inside fungus forests. What if Ixid's Chittle that recognize dwarves as living beings and not trash? True. Giant snails. Yep. Vegetarians would feel guilty too, yeah. There's no actual animal life. We were contemplating real-world applications of D&D ideas like building a structure from cobwebs. Well, yeah. Using the fungi as internet cable for long-distance communication. Ooh, that's a good idea. Spicy kinds of insects, yep. Yeah, I'm the same way, Kickass dude. I tend to gravitate towards the fungus planets in No Man's Sky as well. Kindred spirit. Drop bears from fungus, yeah. Racing snails. What's a vegetarian? It's a person that only murders plants. It's a person that doesn't recognize that plants are living things too, with feelings and thoughts. Really, they're much worse. Because they murder and think it's good. Whereas other people just realize, you know what? Nature made me this way. When I die, insects eat me. Who cares? Eat what you want to eat. Eat what you want to eat. Don't turn it into a religion. Just eat what you want to eat. That's what I say. Pescatarians, yeah. If you want to eat fish, eat fish. I don't care. There's nearly 8 billion of us. It really doesn't make much of a difference. I just found out the other day that the world produces 20,000 tons of paracetamol every single year. 20,000 tons of paracetamol painkiller each year. Think about the resources that are required to produce 20,000 tons of paracetamol. This gives you some idea of how many people there are on the planet now. That every little thing is a huge industry. And even me with my little my little tiny weeny niche interest in Dungeons and Dragons, here I am with an audience of 100,000 people. It's fantastic. Go out and achieve your dreams. Vegans are killed on site. Now. Now. Let's not get diverted. Okay, so we've got obviously most of the people on the planet are dwarves, much like in D&D. Most people are humans. So if you don't want to play a dwarf, that's fine, because most people don't play humans in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Well, I tend to play a lot of humans in D&D. I do tend to play a lot of humans in D&D because they're so useful. But you've got all the other races there as well. So where do all of these other races fit in to dwarven society? Could it be that the humans and things are more inclined to live on the surface area? So these are the dwarves sort of tolerate these races living on the surface because they're the unfortunates that were mutated through no fault of their own. But technically their souls are still dwarvy, but they're second-class citizens as far as the dwarves are concerned. Maybe elementals are material possessed by nanobots that have developed sentience. Oh, that's a good idea, Moonring. Okay, so elementals are actually nanomachines. So it's possible to command them if you were a cleric of the machine gods. That is great. Let's make humans a villain group. The Talls. Aasimar are androids. Yeah, that would make sense. Tieflings are like the Genasi. So Genasi are people who are bonded with nanomachine spirits. So they have power over the element that they're associated with. That makes sense. Dwarves consider the mutants kindred, but not vice versa. That would be sad. Sad also is a form of, conflict. That means turning should affect elementals. Yeah, for sure. Do the dwarves actually want to fix the engine? Do the dwarves even understand what the engine is? That's the question. Have they been so devolved for 50,000 years that the ship has been defunct, that they no longer understand what it's for or where they were going or what they're doing? That only the clerics really understand this sort of thing, but every time the clerics start to really understand this, they are faced with the fact that the arcane wizards are stealing religious texts and things like that and have buried these secrets and destroyed these secrets to maintain their own power. And that part of the reason why we've got an evil moon is because the wizards have messed it up. Perhaps the evil moon represents a corrupted AI that the wizards have essentially almost killed. Yeah, like a Warhammer level of tech understanding. Exactly, they pray to the machines. Literally pray to the machines. Mages of the Dark Moon, machine killers, profane non-believers. Mages of the broken machine. Broken cogs are their symbols, things like that. Hey Mason, we're doing some world building today. Campaign building and world planning. So, okay, let's say you're a player. What sort of character would you like to play in this game? And what sort of adventures and things would you like to achieve? Obviously, the real goal would be getting the planet moving again. Church of the Broken God. That sounds good. The Bad Moon wants to kill everyone organic because of the mages. Yeah. It's trying to do a system reset. Reset the biologicals. The biologicals are causing a problem. I mean, the biologicals in this particular case are a malfunctioning repair agent. Wizards mutated high elves on purpose to oppose AI clerics. So perhaps the elves in this case are a race of the majority arcane race. They were created by the wizards from the dwarven stock. to essentially fight against the machines. That's fantastic. A gnome artificer? Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be a great choice. Church of the Broken Goddess is an SCP, though. Well, if we stop and say we can't use anything SCP, we'll never be able to use anything because there's so much SCP material that we'll run into that all the time. I say harvest SCP lore for your D&D games as much as you want. That's secure, contain, protect, I believe. Restoring factory defaults, yeah. Yeah, well, the undead, corrupted and failed cyborgs would make sense too. So it's not like negative energy, it's like corrupted elemental energy. So it's yeah, it's gone wrong. They've been partially converted to cyborgs and then risen from the dead. Could be that the undead are actually not that bad in this particular case. The undead are just like the machines trying to take over and do things. And it doesn't matter whether a person is alive or dead. Could be a chance that anybody who's had any clerical blessing and things like that or been healed with the clerics are in fact, they could potentially now rise as undead. So we burn the bodies. We burn the bodies. An army of solar angels, yeah. The priests don't believe in the machines, yeah. Well, they'll just use the machines in any way they feel free. They just realize that they are machines. Oh, the Aspen clones, yeah. Technically immortal, I believe, the Aspen clones, unless they're all burned, but you know. 106 acres, single living organism. Computer, visual, virus code, all these nanobots repairing kind of a thing, but breaking. Yeah. So you could have golems and things like that. Could be a player race in this game. So variations on Warforged. You could have great big Titan machines and things like that. And I do like this idea of machines and things raining down from the sky. So there's some sort of battle that's taking place, perhaps. Perhaps there is a race of beings that live outside of the planet, and they're the ones who are contending with the Mind Flayers arriving. Yeah, you could have player holograms. Remember, we had in previous, like in 4th edition, we had Illumians that were basically magical words contained in a humanoid form. I really like the Illumian race. And we had several characters that were Illumians. An Oozkin rogue, yep. So we've got a gnome artificer and an Oozkin rogue. The first line of defense, yeah, the Outer Rim. So they could possibly be on the Good Moon. And the Good Moon could be manufacturing machines that fly. But they need vital resources, crystals and things like that. Two-dimensional entities? Ooh, tricky. Shard Mine player race? I do like that idea too. It is pretty grimdark, yeah. That could be interesting that the Neogi are actually an escaped slave race of the Mind Flayers that have escaped and crash landed on this planet because that's as far as they could get. It's like lucky. And then and now they're faced with the fact that they're stranded on this planet and the Mind Flayers are catching up to them. So they're going to get enslaved again. And so they're like freaking out. So they'll actually help try and get this planet fixed again and running. Could be that the Neogi, evil and vicious as they are and self-serving as they are actually in a way trying to help, trying to save the planet. But they're just so horrible that nobody really realizes it. Because they don't realize. Oh, sorry, Moonring, I missed it. Let me just scroll up here. Have I seen the anime manga Blame? Is it very old? Has that been around for a long time? Could be that the Warforged are in fact undead. So at the heart of every Warforged is the bones of a once living creature. That's now fully cybernetic. Are Dragonborn or half-dragons a thing in this world? If so, maybe the dragons attempt to make a better crew to replace the dwarves without wiping them out. Yeah, well, they could be raiders and things that protect the central spoke. And of course, dragons are immune to mutation as well. So perhaps they get mutated into more humanoid forms. But we don't have to have representation of every single race in D&D. Like, you don't have to have satyrs or dryads or tritons or Ergoat, the Thri-Kreen populate the outer rim of this world and are a major force on this planet. They're one of the primary races of this world. Yeah, I would love to play a cleric in this setting. Clerics really, whenever you got any sort of world building going on, it's always fun to play a cleric, in my personal opinion. It's kind of a trinary solar system. It's got a main star around the central donut, but really that's around the central engine of this world. And then you've got these two other moonlit worlds that have arrived, moon ships that have arrived and are now locked in orbit around this planet. One, these are like backup AIs, right? That have arrived to fix the central AI of this planet. One has been essentially killed or driven crazy by mages who are trying to usurp its power over the world below, and the other one is still good and is trying to repair the planet to get it moving because the Illithids are going to arrive. And the Illithid world is essentially a great big hollow world with a massive brain in the middle of it. So if you try and travel into the ethereal plane or anything like that, like the psychic medium, the astral plane or anything, the psychic verse, you're faced with the fact that there's a giant illithid evil intelligence nearby, which is going to mess you up. So I can see teleportation not working on this setting. Any sort of anything like conjuration and stuff like that is going to be a problem, unless it's using nanomachines and things like that. A techno-necromancer. Yeah, exactly. Hey, thanks, Kakas. Begin the party like the beginning of Dark Matter. A Hollow Earth setting, yeah. Yeah, it's like the Shadow and the Warp, the Elderbrain hive mind. Any teleportation and such risks insanity or being captured. Like if you turn into a psychic entity and travel into the astral plane, you basically just get scooped up by the Illithid. Just like, that's it. See you later. A Mechromancer. Writing that down. Oh, this is great. This would be an excellent book to use the Arcana of the Ancients setting for. This one. Arcana of the Ancients. Written by Sean K. Reynolds, Monty Cook, Bruce R. Cordell. It makes sense that Bruce R. Cordell is involved, and we've got a planet getting chased by Illithids because he's the godfather of Illithids, so it makes perfect sense. So yeah, factions. We've got factions. The Arcane faction, who are trying to keep the world dead for their own personal power, and they are also the Fey Elven type races, because why not? Elves, blame elves for everything. Then you've got the insectoid and other races like the Ixodsarchils in the ocean and stuff, who are trying to keep things cleaned up and using any sort of technology that they find to try and, I don't know, get ahead and fix things. And they possibly anti-arcane. And then you've got the the good moon and the clerics and things like that, and the dwarves and things, and people who are trying to maintain and actually fix the planet. Gem dragons would be like a major species. Instead of chromatic or metallic, their bodies would be like mostly immune to the fungal or mechanical infection. Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it? Dwarven settings, so Scottish Gaelic type names. Yeah, if you want to. Evil space elf mages. Yeah. Have I ever thought about covering Gamma World? Maybe. It'll probably only take me one video. It's pretty simple setting. Life is a key component of its matrix, but it seems that the core is mechanical nanotech. Yeah. What's the ring itself? A landmass? Yeah, essentially a landmass. It's artificially constructed. It's mostly hollow and full of dwarven civilizations. You could play whole campaigns inside this world. I mean, it's a massive, massive land area. If you like do cross sections of a hollowed out donut world that's full of dwarven civilizations, because it's really like a transport ship, right? Like, where is this planet going? Why was it created in the first place? These are deep questions, deep questions that the players are not privy to. But you, as a dungeon master, you know. Is it, in fact, bait, drawing the Mind Flayer world into a trap? Is everybody doomed? Or do they just need to get it going so they can get to the final stretch of their destination and enter into an area that defends against the Mind Flayers somehow, that will liberate and free and restore the full knowledge of what this machine is to all of the dwarven people and all of the mutant offspring and things like that? You need to know about rifts, Corey? Sure. I could make some videos on rifts. Yeah, the machines have got to complete the repairs. Sandworms. Well, I like the idea of burrowing transports, right? Maglev trains and things like that. Maybe it's just a giant cruise ship. Yeah, it could be that the outer surface of the planet is mostly like broken up regolith, so it's so overused by the dwarves that the stone is no longer able to hold structure. So it needs to lie fallow and go from being a regolith and back into a compacted material again, like sandstone or something that they can actually excavate and stuff. But in the meantime, they can travel through this medium using these sandworm machines, or even living sandworms that they're transported inside of. It's like, all aboard, orifice opens up. It's like, don't think about it, just get on board. You know, it's not too bad. Giant trash worms, yeah. But, you know, you go deeper into this world and all of a sudden there's these huge gateways and stuff. So you pop up through these sand tunnels and into the proper structure of the dwarven society. Old school. But of course, it's kind of weird because they've been down there for 50,000 years with no other input of information. There've been civil wars and things like that, and information and stuff has been warped and twisted and destroyed. So the dwarven societies down there believe this or believe that based on whatever evidence and stuff, but it's always invariably a grain of truth with a whole pack of, you know, cult of personality bullshit surrounding it. So, yeah. A wombus. You love rifts? Magnetized Behir? Yeah, could be. Giant centipedes. There could be different types of transport. Giant centipedes, landworms, like purple worms that you travel inside of, leviathans, gigantic mollusks, you know, like a clam. So it sucks in the earth at one side and spits it out the back, and it's surrounded by a huge shell. You could have all sorts of different types of sandwormy type things. Yeah, that's the idea, Daniel. Just fun, man. Just pure fun. Racing snails, yeah. But then, this idea of all of the surface settlements are mobile. What'd you miss in the last 40 minutes? Quite a bit. We've developed a bit more, I think. This world's definitely making sense. Is Inside the Ring fully explored? No. Maybe. It could be that the sea level changes so often that like the fungus forests and stuff actually rearrange the landscape, and that the land masses are constantly changing, like archipelagos, right? And the ocean is constantly moving here and there because of the natural growth and melt of the central ice spires. And perhaps the dragons control that. They are desperately trying to maintain the atmosphere because perhaps the ship landed smack bang in the middle of a nebula. Oh, wait a minute. What if the reason why the ship broke down in the first place is it flew smack bang through the middle of an alien armada? That's two alien armadas that fought a massive war so big that the planets that they were fighting over were destroyed and pulverized, and turned into a nebula of gases and broken machines and ships. And it's played havoc with the machinery and atmosphere of this donut world. And the gem dragons have been trying to control the atmosphere and restore and basically keep the living systems alive because they realize it's the only hope they have. So on the one hand, the people who live on the land are extremely frustrated that these dragons are like constantly causing environmental disasters, but they don't realize the big picture is without the dragons' activities, half this world would be on fire, the other part would be ice. They're just trying to maintain. Sounds like an episode of Star Trek Voyager. Could be. Yeah, I love the idea of like loot falling from the sky, because that gives you a perfect excuse. It's like, this like the spectral trail of this comet was the purple green color of this particular type of metal, and we know from past experience that those are always a rich source of arcane gems. Arcane gems? What are these arcane gems that contain all this information? Well, they contain code previously for weapon systems and navigation systems and things for this alien armada that have strange effects on the nanomachines and allow us to break their code and control them. But the more you use this arcane knowledge to control the natural nanomachines of the world, the more messed up they become. Yep. Spells. Yes. So the crystals are RAM memory or other PC parts. That's right. Debris falls and people go racing after it, and they have to fight. The clerics are fighting the arcane people because the clerics are like, no, we must destroy these gems. We must give them to the dragons and stuff to determine whether they're good or bad. Because maybe they contain information that the nanomachines can use to fix things. Additional information, self-repair machines and things. Maybe Coyote could be broken nanobots. Maybe Coyote could be partially converted cyborgs that cannot exist in the world, that are surrounded by a fleshy medium of nanomachine ooze. Coyote are pretty interesting. How can we pin the blame on the elves? Well, the elves have been purposefully created to be warped and twisted into believing that their manifest destiny is to control the planet and get rid of the AIs. Perhaps they believe that the AIs are responsible for the world's problems, Like it was the faulty navigation of the AIs that got them crash landed into this nebula in the first place. Maybe it's just an investigation ship, like a scientific survey, trying to find out what this nebula is and why it's moving towards them at a great rate of knots. Maybe they're returning home with vital information that this ship has gathered, and the Illithids are chasing them down to get this information themselves, or it's vital information about the Illithid Empire and how to defeat them. But this is like in-campaign big questions, right? It's good to have those questions, but it's not necessarily good to have those right at the heart of your adventures. Because you want to kind of, you want a perpetual sort of, like you can either have a campaign where the end campaign is the end of the world as we know it. So you've either fixed the planet or it's completely broken and taken over or something. The nebula hungers for new stuff. Oh, yeah. It's trying to repair the stuff. Maybe the Thri-Kreen were actually crash-landed seed pods and cocoons of the previous occupants of the Armada, and they've become naturalized to the planet now. But they weren't. They were originally the alien Armada was 2 Thri-Kreen army that were fighting against each other. Flumps. Flumps could be some sort of evolution of slimes in the deep fungus forests. How would I go about making a gibbering mouther dragon? There is a version of a gibbering mouther dragon. I'll have to find that for you. But yeah, no, that already exists in the lore, Gino. Yeah, I'll have to find it for you. The owls believe that they can fix all of it if they just get all of the nanomachines and do a bit of ritual. And the AIs are broken but not trustworthy. Yeah. Could be that the elves realize that them using foreign code to try and manipulate the nanomachines has caused an insurmountable problem, but it's also their only solution now. They need to find a code which gets rid of foreign code. They need to find the source code, the one spell, the code that controls all nanomachines to do everything they want them to do. Essentially, wish, right? Or is it Thri-Kreen versus Neogi? That's a good idea. Oh, Moonring. Well, this live stream is actually in the sweet spot, right where the painkillers are at their juicy nicest. But yeah, I do have a big jagged hole in my mouth over here, which I'm dealing with. It's on the mend though, for sure. I reckon another week or so, and I'll be right as rain. Can nanomachines hurt you? Yes, they sure can. Mages of the source code. Their symbol is just a dot. Do nanomachines want to hurt me? Probably not, no. Not intentionally. Words of creation are JavaScript, yeah. Find the source code as the cool potential win condition, yeah. The Modron March could be from the Good Moon, where they basically send down machines to try and secure stuff. How did I get the jagged facial injury? Teeth, man. Bad teeth. Where did the Vogon come into play? The Vogon construction fleet. Could be their a salvage operation of orcs and ogres and goblinoids who live in space, purely live in space, who are salvaging and have been salvaging this alien nebula armada for thousands of years. It's all they've ever known. And then it's like, oh, there's this planet thing which is flying through there. And it's followed by another planet thing in its wake, some distance. This is not cool. We don't like gravity gravs, people who live on the surface of giant rocks. And it could be cool that the goblinoids are just like, they're okay with mutation. It's just, whatever. Tax collectors. It's like they don't the goblinoids and the orcs and stuff don't care whether this planet's fixed or not. They don't give a shit. They're just there to take what they want, and they take off. Crash land, find cool artifacts, load them into a ship, jury rig it somehow to get off the planet and leave, get out of there and back into the swarm. That's their entire mission in life. So you occasionally just have a raid of space orcs that arrive following particularly good salvage harvest. So you see a comet in the sky. It's got the right spectrum it's potentially got gems with the one code in it, but you got to race against various factions to get there before they take it. And the orcs and the goblinoids are going to show up and just take it for excellent shiny. We burn these crystals inside outer machines. They run on probability drives or something. They run on complexity. The source code is used to power chaos engines. I don't know. IT druids, yeah. Who am I? Just passing through, yeah. We don't care about your stupid source code. I don't know why, but the orcs just got Spanish accents. Machines? We don't need all these stinky machines. They pilot space flumps. They live inside giant jellyfish. No, we don't need the abyss and demons. We don't need angels. We don't need anything supernatural. It's all explained by what we've got so far. Yeah, please don't burn our source code gems. Can we have a small mountain of mimics singing because the hills are alive with the sound of music? Yes. Whole campaigns should be built around puns like that. Yeah, Danny Trejo orcs. I don't care about your machines, man. Hand over the gems. You know what's good for you. Right, Ratch? I think of the Warforged would be closer to machines. Because nanomachines, they look very similar to biology, right? When you're constructing them, because the components are so small, they're liquid, right? So your alchemical components and stuff of their circulatory system are actually feeding nanomachine repair systems and things like that. So the bulk mechanical parts of their body are really just the framework that contains their alchemical essence. And the alchemical essence is nanomachines built around a central crystal core of information storage. I think so. So serious. Danny Trejo, Orc Space Pirates. Yep. Confirmed. Well, I think this has been a pretty good example of how world building can start from scratch, and you can come up with some really, really interesting ideas with basic elements. You just build one thing on top of the other, right? One thing on top of the other, bit by bit. I'll just switch over the cameras here for the people who are new, who have just arrived. So, to summarize what we have here, we have the planet Dor'Nut. Its majority population race of dwarves and everyone else who's basically mutated from dwarves. And we've got Thri-Kreen and oozes and Warforged, and we've got Neogi. So the Thri-Kreen and the Neogi were part of an alien armada that had a massive war and formed a nebula, formed of vaporized planets, exploded supernova stars and things like that. So if you're looking on this world outside, the space around it is a chaotic swirl of supernova, superheated plumes of radiant gases and things like that, and occasionally dark clouds of former war machines of titanic size. Ships the size of moons are parked around, and this particular planet here, it's got its own moon-sized AI type control mechanism engine right in the middle, and this landmass around the outside here is essentially resources and things, and protects this moon thingy here from the leading edge of its travel. It's slowly rotating on a 10,000 year cycle. It's got along the central here, the central shadow area, is this huge spire mountain range of ice in which live crystal gemstone dragons that are responsible for maintaining the atmosphere and integrity of the biological life around the planetary system. The ocean is full of Ixizar and other races which maintain the purity of the thing. They also occasionally come in and harvest stuff because the ocean level is constantly changing, and the landmass is constantly changing as well because it's the tides are coming in and out and stuff, and so there's no permanent civilization structures here. Everybody's mobile on the surface, great sort of moving machines and things, but they also burrow under the surface down to a depth of like a mile or so, is all regolith and things, so often and frequently built and used as transport that you need a special vehicle, living vehicles or machine vehicles and stuff to get to the surface or whatever. Down below, in the deep below, is dwarven civilization and lost chambers of machines and construction bays for moon-sized planet machine components and stuff, like replacement parts for the central thing, and like carved records of the dwarves and stuff like that nobody really understands anymore. So yeah, Ego the living planet, yeah, kind of like that. Living solar system. Phase World. I love Phase World. And in the nebula around the planet that it's been moving through, there's orcs and goblinoids who are essentially a scavenger race, who will occasionally chase a bit of nice salvage down to the planet's surface. Why do they specifically target the planet? Because as the debris enters into the atmosphere, as it starts to burn up, they get a spectral analysis of it. It's easy to pick up and figure out what it is. But otherwise, they find it difficult to, I don't know, bounce lasers or whatever off it to identify space chunks. They just, Have you seen Flesh Pit National Park? Yeah, I have. Was hoping another scene Warforged like I do, closer to elemental than robots, very little different than Earth Elemental, just made from different materials. Well, the Earth Elementals, the Elementals are essentially nanomachines, right? So the nanomachines, and you have Mechromancers who can manipulate elementals. And also people, the undead are also nanomachine in nature. And that's like the central AI trying to fix the biologicals. Yeah, Conquistador Space Orcs. Yeah, but the idea is that the players in the campaign don't need to know all this. They do not need to know all this. All they know is that they're in this unique sort of environment. They could start off underground in one of the great cities of the dwarves, and be dealing with internal politics and religious factions and things like that. They could be a population that's on the surface world in the arid sort of scavenger zone, making their money by selling precious metals and things to the inner area. So they could be living in this area here. This temperate area here is where they farm the majority of the fungus forests for food and things. Would you consider doing videos about the more obscure cosmic creatures of D&D? Find these very fascinating. Yeah, I do, on a regular sort of basis. And the mages. Oh yeah, the mages. One of the machines that arrived, the AI cores that arrived to fix the planet, was corrupted by the mages. The mages of Arcane essentially break computer code in order to get the nanomachines and stuff to do whatever they want. So all of their spell-like effects and stuff are essentially technomancy. Dor'Nut's Day, where they all eat the planet's shaped pastries. I like it. Yeah, on Dor'Nut Day they all eat donuts. They wear a symbolic donut around their neck. The clerics of the donut. Like the cog symbol would be extra sacred, because it's both the international sign of the donut, which is that, right? But also it's the branches of knowledge, which also represent the arcane schools of magic. So it's a cog. I like it. I think that's a pretty good, close to 2-hour live stream. And we've got a pretty good working homebrewed world there. It always pays to start by asking your players what they want to play. Decide whether it's going to be a homebrew world of some kind. As you can see, I'm no stranger to making pretty interesting homebrew worlds. Start out with a basic weird concept, and in this case it was a donut world and the implications of having like 3 moons and things, because somebody was talking about Dragonlance, and the thing that stands out with Dragonlance for me is always the 3 moons that are assigned sort of alignments in Dragonlance. That's one of the things I loved most about that setting. A donut with a plum in the center, yeah. And thanks everybody for your help and input, and feel free to steal any of this or have it inspire your own games and things. And if you like that sort of thing, this sort of content for a live stream, maybe next time we'll do just more of a city campaign or adventure planning, and I'll show you how I organize a campaign, start out, and how I organize plot lines and things, and how I respond to the possible trees of probability that players create as they go, and how to design adventures that can drop into multiple branches on those decision trees that the players do, so that you're say you've been pretty convinced they're going to go this way, but they go this way. You've got adventures, campaign elements that can go either way, and how you do that. So I can certainly talk about that. Aren't we going to play this? No. World building is a game in and of itself. My role is just to inspire. I have so many pages to fill. Next live stream, probably the weekend after next. We'll see. Play it by ear. I should be getting much more regular in my content creation and stuff like that now that my tooth surgery is, for the moment, at an end. Next year, past February also, I'll probably be looking at some more, but we'll see how it goes. It has been much more disruptive than I thought it would be, so I'm a little bit tentative about it. But it needs to happen. Yep, take care everyone. Have an excellent week. And I will see you again soon. More videos on the way. Got another ethereal plane video, probably the last one in the series, where I talk about specific planes of demiplanes that can be found, including, of course, the domains of Dread and Ravenloft. Catch you later.